Snow drifted across the silent ridge in weightless spirals, falling over the shape of a lone figure lying motionless against the frozen earth. The sniper's white ghillie suit blended so completely with the terrain that only the faint rise and fall of controlled breathing revealed he was alive. Beneath the layers of synthetic fur and insulated fabric, Staff Sergeant Cole Mercer steadied his heartbeat, letting the cold sharpen his senses instead of dulling them. He had trained for years in conditions like these, but today felt different, as if the world itself were holding its breath with him. Cole lowered his eye to the scope of his custom-modified .50 BMG rifle, the weapon resting with measured precision on its extended bipod. The rifle was a simple machine by interstellar standards, just chemical energy, steel, and physics, but it was an instrument he had mastered to a degree few on Earth could match. He adjusted the focus, observing the distant cluster of pines through drifting snow. Nothing moved, but he continued studying every detail. Patience wasn't just part of the job. It was the foundation of his entire life. A soft chime in his earpiece broke the silence. "Cole, command here. You're needed back at base immediately." He hesitated for only a second before replying. "Acknowledged. On my way." He packed the rifle with methodical care, ensuring no moving part would betray his presence, then rose into a crouch and moved down the slope with slow, practiced steps. The cold wind cut across his exposed cheek as he descended, urging him forward. The base was a fortified collection of structures built into the hollow of the valley below. Normally, it bustled with routine operations, training rotations, and the steady hum of generators. But tonight, tension simmered through every corridor Cole passed. Soldiers whispered in hushed tones. Officers marched quickly between terminals, their expressions grim. Even before he reached the operations center, Cole sensed that whatever had happened was beyond anything Earth had ever dealt with. Inside, holographic displays flickered with alien shapes, sleek black vessels hovering in orbit, each one the size of a city. Their jagged silhouettes radiated an unsettling sense of design, as if they'd been crafted by minds with no concern for beauty or symmetry. One display repeated a strange, pulsing message translated into English. "Your world will be reorganized. Your technology is inadequate. Compliance is mandatory." General Halstead, a broad-shouldered man with silver hair and a perpetually stern gaze, stood at the center of the command table. He looked up the moment Cole entered. "Mercer, good. We need you." Cole stepped forward, removing his hood and meeting the general's eyes. "When did they arrive?" 3 hours ago, Halstead said. "They made landfall in multiple locations. They won't negotiate. They've already shut down half our satellites and wiped out a response team in Norway." He tapped a projection, showing footage of alien infantry, tall, armored figures with luminescent joints and smooth, segmented plating. "These things don't use kinetic weapons. Their energy shielding shrugs off everything we've thrown at them." Cole examined the footage without speaking. The aliens moved with a casual confidence that bordered on arrogance. They didn't rush. They didn't take cover. They advanced as though they believed nothing on Earth could harm them. That thought alone chilled him more deeply than the snow ever could. Halstead folded his arms. "They're broadcasting mockery over open channels, saying our firearms are historical curiosities. They think we're harmless." Cole finally spoke. "And we aren't." "No," Halstead said, "but we need to prove it." He walked around the table and activated a second projection. A shielded alien outpost flickered into view, an angular metal bulwark surrounded by a shimmering, translucent dome. Inside it, an alien commander addressed a work crew, the plates on its armor shifting like interlocking blades. "We've detected a vulnerability in the commander's frontal armor," Halstead continued. "A microscopic seam that opens when it moves its upper torso. It's only exposed for a fraction of a second, but if we can neutralize the commander, the outpost shielding will collapse." Cole stared at the image. The distance was extreme, the timing impossibly narrow, and the environmental conditions unpredictable. But none of that intimidated him. He had built his reputation on shots that by all rights should never have been possible. What's the range? Just under 2 miles, Halstead said. No drones can get close without being vaporized. No artillery shot will be precise enough. We need a single round, placed exactly where it matters. Cole nodded slowly. When do I leave? Immediately, the general replied. If we lose that outpost, we lose our chance to hit back before they expand their perimeter. You'll be transported to a ridge overlooking the alien structure. From there, it's all you. Cole pulled his hood back on, feeling the weight of the mission settle over him like another layer of frost. Yet beneath the pressure, there was clarity. Aliens could mock Earth's technology all they wanted, but they had overlooked one simple truth. Humans had mastered their so-called primitive tools to devastating effect. As he stepped out into the night, snowflakes swirling fiercely around him, Cole tightened his grip on the rifle case. The world was on the brink of something irreversible, and he knew the first move in humanity's answer would be his. The transport vehicle rumbled across the frozen valley, its tires crunching over layers of hardened snow as twilight dimmed into a steel-gray night. Cole sat alone in the back compartment, checking every component of his rifle in a steady rhythm. He slid the bolt, inspected the chamber, tested the bipod tension, and re-examined the custom ammunition prepared specifically for this mission. Each action steadied his breathing. Each action reminded him of who he was, a specialist forged by repetition, discipline, and the unwavering belief that precision could alter the course of impossible situations. The driver announced their arrival with a curt, "We're here," and Cole stepped out into the cutting wind. The ridge they had chosen overlooked the valley where the alien outpost had carved its shimmering blue dome into the snow. Even from a distance, the structure felt out of place, like a crystal tumor embedded in living tissue. Its energy field pulsed in steady intervals, pushing back the snowfall as though it rejected the purity of the environment itself. A forward observation team waited for him, their silhouettes rigid against the drifting frost. Lieutenant Rhea Morgan approached first, a compact figure wrapped in white tactical gear designed for stealth and warmth. Her eyes reflected determination rather than fear. She had worked with Cole on previous missions, and though they were very different in temperament, she spoke in sharp, rapid bursts. He spoke rarely. They shared mutual respect forged under fire. "Glad you made it," she said, handing him a thermal visor calibrated to track the alien soldiers through the distortion of their energy signatures. "We've been monitoring their patrol patterns. They're predictable, but their sensors are not. You'll need to stay completely still once you set up." "Understood," Cole replied, accepting the visor without hesitation. "Where's the vantage point?" Rhea pointed toward a jagged rock formation jutting from the ridge. "Up there. You'll have a clean line of sight to the commander. But the wind is changing direction every few minutes. You'll have to adapt mid-shot." Cole glanced toward the outpost again, studying its unnatural geometry. The aliens moved with the same arrogance he had seen on the footage of base. They walked in open spaces, unconcerned. Their armor glowed faintly with power, each step releasing ripples through the air like heat-bending desert horizons. They believed themselves untouchable. He began the ascent toward the vantage point, his boots sinking into powder that muffled every step. Rhea followed long enough to ensure he reached the outcropping safely, then crouched behind a fallen log to coordinate overwatch. "We'll feed you updates on their movement, but once the wind spikes, we'll lose our readings. After that, you're on your own." "That's fine," Cole said. He meant it. Solitude sharpened him. He settled onto the cold stone and unfolded the bipod with careful, deliberate motions. Each metallic click carried meaning, but no sound beyond a muted whisper. He dug the bipod feet into the snow until the rifle became part of the ridge itself. Then he lay prone, merging his body with the white landscape as easily as steady breath merges with cold air. Through the scope, the alien outpost magnified sharply. The commander stood at the center, issuing instructions with fluid movements. Its armor panels shifted like mechanical pedals, opening and closing. Just as the intel described, a microscopic seam appeared for only the briefest moment when the commander twisted its torso at a precise angle. The vulnerability was real, but exploiting it would require a shot that defied margin, uncertainty, and nature itself. A crackle sounded in Cole's earpiece. Wind rising, Rio warned. You've got maybe a minute before it becomes unpredictable. Cole adjusted his position, letting the world around him narrow into a corridor defined only by distance, wind direction, and the breathing patterns he could control. He made micro-adjustments, compensating for the faint air currents rippling across the ridge. His gloved finger hovered near the trigger but did not touch it. Timing mattered. Impulse would ruin everything. The alien commander shifted, opening the armor seam for less than a heartbeat. Cole exhaled halfway and waited. Shooting now would be reckless. He needed the pattern to repeat, to match the rhythm with his own controlled motion. A second opening appeared. Still too soon. Ria's voice whispered again, lower than before. Sensors picking up increased shield activity. They're reinforcing something. This might be your only window. Cole didn't answer. He didn't need to. Words would only break the tunnel vision clarity he had spent decades cultivating. He counted the wind fluctuations, 3 steady drafts, a pause, then a sudden shift to the left. That was his cue. He adjusted, setting the rifle's elevation and windage by instinct as much as calculation. The commander turned once more, its armor plates opening slightly as it gestured toward a hovering drone. The seam appeared perfect and fleeting. Cole squeezed the trigger. The rifle roared, a deep, resonant thunder that shattered the quiet ridge and sent snow fluttering in violent spirals. The recoil traveled through his shoulder, grounding him. The round tore through the air, carving an invisible line between defiance and extinction. He kept his eye on the scope. The alien commander froze. The armor flickered, and then the shield dome surrounding the outpost began to tremble. The shield collapsed with a soundless shudder, its shimmering surface fracturing into cascading ribbons of light that dissolved into the night air. For a moment, the valley went utterly still, as if the world itself struggled to comprehend what had just happened. Cole kept his gaze fixed through the scope, refusing to blink. The alien commander's towering frame swayed. A faint burst of energy flickering from the microscopic wound the round had carved through its armor. A heartbeat later, the creature crumpled to the snow in a metallic heap, its luminous joints dimming like dying embers. Ria's voice burst through his earpiece, sharp with disbelief. Holy hell, Cole, you hit it. The shield's down. I repeat, the shield is down. A surge of distant shouts echoed across the ridge as the observation team scrambled to relay the news. Cole exhaled slowly, letting the tension melt from his shoulders. The shot had been perfect, but perfection had never been the goal. Necessity had driven him, guided by the certainty that failure was not an option. Even so, he allowed himself the briefest moment of pride before shifting focus back to the outpost. Below, chaos erupted. The aliens had always moved with calculated precision, their posture radiating effortless superiority. But now confusion rippled through their ranks like a shockwave. Soldiers stumbled as their armor recalibrated frantically, exposed to the bitter cold without the protection of the energy dome. They scanned the ridge with frantic gestures, unable to locate the source of the attack. Their technology, for all its sophistication, was helpless against a projectile too primitive to trigger their detection systems. Cole adjusted his scope and surveyed the valley. Human strike teams surged from concealed trenches and snow-covered ridges, their footsteps synchronized with a confidence that had been missing since the aliens arrived. Vehicles roared forward, engines thundering as missile crews took aim at the outpost's now vulnerable architecture. The first explosion ignited the night, sending shards of alien alloy flying across the crater ground. "Cole, we're moving in," Ria called out. He could hear the exhilaration in her voice, a sharp, fierce edge fueled by the sudden shift in momentum. Your shot opened the door. Now let's kick it down. Understood, he replied, already packing his rifle. The mission wasn't over, but the tide had unmistakably turned. He slung the rifle across his back and descended the ridge with careful strides, keeping low as human forces advanced. Snow whipped across the valley in gusts, mixing with the steam rising from burning alien equipment. As he reached the base of the ridge, he encountered Rhea sprinting toward him, her breath visible in rapid bursts. She didn't stop running until she was close enough to see the faint exhaustion in his eyes. "I knew you'd make the shot," she said, though her voice trembled slightly with the enormity of what had just occurred. "No one else on Earth could have done that." Cole shook his head, not in humility, but in clarity. "Anyone with the right training could have tried. We didn't win because of the shot alone. We won because we adapt." Before Rhea could answer, a thunderous shockwave rolled across the valley. A massive alien transport ship descended rapidly, its hull glowing with hostile intent. The ground teams scrambled for cover, and alarms flared across the comms channel. Cole instinctively reached for his rifle before realizing he didn't have a clear vantage point. The transport hovered above the outpost, scanning the destruction below. Then slowly it retreated. The lights along its underbelly dimmed, and its trajectory angled upward, leaving the battlefield without firing a single shot. The remaining alien soldiers activated emergency beacons and vanished in spiraling columns of energy, abandoning the outpost entirely. "They're evacuating," Rhea murmured in disbelief. "Why would they run?" Cole watched the retreating vessel until it disappeared behind clouds. "Because they finally learned we're not harmless." Human forces secured the outpost within minutes. Engineers swarmed the structures, gathering data from exposed consoles and dismantled shield generators. Officers relayed updates through the channel, their voices tinged with triumph. For the first time since the aliens arrived, humanity wasn't reacting. They were advancing. Cole stood at the edge of the ruins, observing the remains of the alien commander. Despite its formidable armor and imposing design, it seemed oddly fragile now, stripped of the invincibility it once projected. He knelt beside it, noticing the precise entry point the round had carved, an impossibly small opening, yet enough to unravel an entire operation. Rhea approached quietly. "Think they'll come back?" "They will," Cole said. He rose to his feet and surveyed the sky, as though expecting another ship to descend. "They underestimated us once. They won't make that mistake again." "Good," she replied, "because now we know they bleed." Cole's gaze drifted toward the horizon, where dawn's first faint colors began to melt into the darkness. The battle had been won, but the war remained uncertain. Still, the outcome of tonight's confrontation echoed with a message that would spread far beyond Earth. Advanced technology didn't guarantee victory. Understanding one's tools, mastering them, and wielding them with purpose, that was humanity's strength. He shouldered his rifle, feeling its familiar weight settle against his back. Humanity had sent a message, and Cole had been its messenger. There would be more battles, more impossibilities to overcome, but he was ready. So long as he could place a single round where it mattered, hope would never fall silent.